On your side now at 6 o'clock with another major personnel change at the Charlotte Area Transit System. The head of the city's light rail division has been placed on administrative leave. This comes after another train car recently derailed and a fired CATS employee filed a lawsuit calling the work environment hostile and abusive. Investigative reporter David Hodges broke this news earlier today and joins us at the Scaly Bark station with the latest change at CATS.
A CATS spokesperson confirmed for me on Tuesday that the general manager of rail operations, Deltron Harris, has been placed on paid administrative leave. He's still employed with the city, but the last CATS executive who was placed on admin leave didn't last very long. We don't know exactly why Harris has been placed on leave. However, there have been numerous troubles within his division just over the past year. I first started reporting on Harris in November when I found a report from his last job accusing him of instructing employees to violate safety rules. Then earlier this month, a former CATS employee who was fired after the May 2022 derailment filed a lawsuit against the city. In the lawsuit, the fired employee alleges that Harris conspired against him and concealed information about the derailment, and that Harris was verbally abusive, created a hostile work environment, and harassed employees. That's only the tip of the iceberg, though, for Harris's current problems, as inspections from state regulators raise more concerns about how the Rail Operations Control Center was being run and the shortage of employees manning the center. Earlier this year, I asked CATS interim CEO Brent Cagle whether Harris and other CATS leaders needed to be held accountable even after 3 top executives had already left the city.
You still have a general manager of rail services and also one in safety and security who were at the forefront a lot of this. These are people in high-level positions. Is there accountability that needs to happen there?
Absolutely, we're looking at that. Again, we are trying to understand everything that's brought us to where we are, develop a plan for moving forward, and that doesn't stop at the COO, it doesn't stop at the rail general manager.
Again, Harris is still employed by the city of Charlotte while he is on administrative leave, but it does raise some major questions about who's going to be leading this division moving forward. I had that question answered today too. CATS informed me that Gary Lee, who has a long track record in both rail operations and CATS, has been appointed as interim general manager of the rail operations division. Reporting in Charlotte, David Hodges, WBTV on your side.
David, thank you. Now, we are expecting an update from CATS tomorrow, not about General Manager of Rail Operations, Deltron Harris, but the shootout involving a man and a CATS bus driver last week. WBTV will be on your side at the news conference to bring you the very latest. Now, if you want to see David's investigations into CATS, they are streaming on demand right now on the WBTV News app on Roku, Amazon Fire, and Apple TV. The app is free. Just look for CATS Off the Radar.